Good morning and welcome everybody to Innovate and Caffeinate this morning. I am Tamala Darnell, for those of you who don't know me, and I am the Regional Coordinator for Grow West and Lead Coordinator for Murray-Calloway County Innovate and Caffeinate. We're so excited to present Beth Podrovitz this morning. She was actually our in-person speaker back in February when we just launched, but we are going to do a special, episode, as you would say, and we're going to catch up with her and see how she's been since this whole pandemic started, because she started her new business venture in January, and I'll let her talk to you about that. But, you know, she was right at the front door, I guess, before this pandemic started, and then all of this happened, and I just kind of want to check in with her and see how things have been going. So please welcome Beth Podrovitz.
Thanks, Tamala.
You are welcome. So Beth, let's talk about a recap. Maybe not as much detail as you did for us in February, but for those who are just now watching this morning, kind of explain, what your two businesses are and how you kind of got to where you are today.
Sounds good. Well, I'm the owner of Jazzercise Murray and also the BU Yoga Studio in Murray. And I purchased the BU Yoga Studio in November of last year. Jazzercise Murray I have owned for going on 3 years now, and I have been a certified instructor for 6 years. So when I moved to Murray 3 years ago, decided to open up my own Jazzercise Murray location. And we had been offering classes at the American Legion building for 2 full years. And then when the opportunity to purchase the yoga studio came up last year, I decided to purchase the yoga studio and also move the Jazzercise Murray classes into the yoga studio location. So that combined launch actually happened in January of this year.
Awesome. So I know this is year 3 you said, and for a while, you talked about the challenges and struggles you had with just starting with Jazzercise, and then this opportunity came up and you're just like, oh my gosh, let me jump on and do that. So how did you go through that process? Like, explain that a little bit. Like, why did you just go ahead and go for it? What was your thought process behind that? And I'm sure you were quite terrified.
Yeah, definitely. And it was actually kind of interesting because I had another opportunity come my way soon after I moved here and opened up Jazzercise Murray over at the American Legion. Actually, the Jazzercise location in Paducah became available for purchase, and I was presented with the option to purchase that location. But at that time, I had only just started here in Murray and just didn't really feel like I was in a position financially or with just the business security in general to purchase that location. And so I chose not to purchase it at that time, ended up just purchasing a lot of their equipment and their assets. So then fast forward 2 years, and then this opportunity arose with the yoga studio. And the previous owner just decided, actually kind of happened very quickly. She had a baby and she had another side job, and just decided that the yoga studio was just too much for her to take on and continue to run. And so she was going to close her doors unless she could find a buyer. And fortunately, one of my Jazzercise customers was also one of the yoga customers. And she came to me and let me know that the yoga studio was open for potential buyers, and thought I should take a look. So I did, and talked to the previous owner, and within 10 days we were signing papers to purchase the business. So since then, of course, I had to rebrand it, and I had to follow, of course, Jazzercise guidelines, but I also rebranded the yoga studio somewhat. And then, the scheduling and things like that. So it happened very, very quickly. Fortunately, I had a bit of a transitional period since I purchased the yoga studio in November of last year. My lease with the Legion was through the entire year, so through December of last year. So that gave me 2 months to transition the yoga studio to be able to accept the Jazzercise classes and all of the franchise requirements that I had, such as paint colors and how it's decorated and things like that. So it was really kind of a nice transition there that I had to kind of step into it. And then we officially launched the Jazzercise classes in the yoga studio in January of this year.
That's awesome. And then you spoke about it in February for us, and then
yes.
And
then in March we closed.
Yes, and then a month later you ended up closing. So talk about, your feelings during that time? You know, you just opened up in this new studio, just purchased a second business, a business that you're not a yoga instructor, you're not certified in, but you're now an owner of. So talk about kind of like how your thought process behind that was, and, you know, the challenges and how you were going to, you know, try to, I guess, adapt for this pandemic.
Well, kind of like with the business purchase, everything just happened really quickly. And it's kind of funny because usually I'm someone who really thinks things through. I think through all the different possibilities and scenarios and plan my actions accordingly. But this was something where I didn't have time to think. And it was probably for the better. The pandemic occurred, and I mean, we were watching the governor's press conferences every single day, listening, okay, what's he going to say about businesses? What is he going to say about gyms and fitness studios? What's next? What's next? What's next? And so we were just waiting every single day to hear how that was going to impact us. And so then they closed us down on March 16th. And so then I had to, for about a millisecond, was able to kind of sit back and lick my wounds and kind of feel sorry for myself, and then realize I have to keep these businesses alive. It is on me to kind of go into survival mode and see what I can do to keep both businesses going when we can't have in-person classes. So immediately I started offering online classes via Zoom for the yoga studio. And so, I mean, Zoom, of course, as everyone knows, just exploded. And I had to learn all of that technology very quickly. Fortunately, we had an old iPad here at the studio, so I was able to use that and was able to offer online only classes for April and May. And of course, we did not have the kind of revenue generated from that, but we had some revenue, which was really what I was looking for to try to keep us going. And so then we had a very loyal customer base that continued to do online classes. I allowed my instructors to teach yoga from home so that they felt safe and they felt secure, and they could do it via Zoom, which is, of course, a godsend for us. And so, you know, it was kind of an interesting time because people, I think because of the pandemic, were so much more open to things being different. Whereas I think maybe without that, people maybe would not have been as willing to purchase an online pass because people can get yoga classes for free online on YouTube, whatever. But I think because of the pandemic, our customers were just more open, and they also recognized, okay, if I want the studio to reopen whenever we're allowed to, I have to invest in this. And so I know I do have some people who purchased passes who maybe didn't do as much yoga as they would have wanted to. Also, along with that, you know, kind of, like I said, being thrown into the fire really quickly and having to make all these decisions really quickly. For those who had those online passes, I also had to acknowledge that now they also had a different work environment. So they were likely working at home or with their children at home, and maybe the class times wouldn't work for them. So then I had to learn, I had never done this before, I had to learn how to create a YouTube channel. So I created a private YouTube channel and put our recordings, our Zoom recordings on there, and gave that link to our customers who purchased those online passes. I had never done any of this before. I mean, I was just kind of floating out there, trying to figure it out, desperately trying to keep yoga for my customers so that they could continue. Jazzercise was a little bit different though, because it's a franchise. I have different guidelines. So with yoga, it's all on me. I had to come up with a plan. I had to implement the plan, do it, everything really to the best of my ability, and kind of guessing along the way, to be honest, which I think is a large part of what entrepreneurs do anyway. But with Jazzercise, we're not permitted to do anything online because we use pop music. So we use the music that you hear on the radio, and due to royalty issues and things like that, we're not permitted to not even record say a 30-second clip from a class and post it online. So we have very significant restrictions as to what we are allowed to do. Fortunately, because we are a franchise, we also have Jazzercise corporate behind it. So they were able to go to the music royalty companies and say, can we create a scenario where our studios can somehow stream classes and not be penalized for the music royalties and things like that? So fortunately, in April, they allowed us to create private Facebook groups for our paying customers and to live stream our classes. Now, we couldn't record them or post them, but we could at least live stream them. So then I was able to offer something to my paying customers. And once again, with the Jazzercise customers, they were absolutely amazing. With Jazzercise, it's a regular membership, so they pay monthly. And I would say probably 95% of my customers stuck with me and continued to pay even when I couldn't offer classes. Another really nice thing about the franchise part of it is that Jazzercise Corporate has a on-demand option that people can purchase to do Jazzercise at home. And for paying customers, they gave them 2 months of that for free. So not only were they able to do corporates on-demand classes with a free membership there, they were able to, my customers were able to stream my instructors from my studio, the classes that we offered here. So it was just a lot of flying by the seat of my pants and trying to learn things really, really quickly and doing whatever I could to provide a product for my customers in a time when we weren't allowed to do that in person. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
No, that's perfect. So now that you're actually able to have back in class sessions again, let's talk a little bit about the changes that you had to make before you could even open.
Yeah, so as a boutique fitness studio, of course, cleaning is a big deal. You know, we always clean. So like new guidelines for cleaning really made no impact on us because we clean everything anyway. So all of our equipment, hand weights, tubes, yoga blocks, mats, all of that is regularly cleaned regardless. So that wasn't anything really new. For us, the biggest restriction was our class sizes. So what we've had to do, of course, is limit our class sizes. And that means we have to have a reservation system. And so my husband and I came to the studio, we measured out the floor in 8-foot increments and put dots on the floor so that customers had a visual of how to stay more than 6 feet apart because we felt 6 feet was too close for working out. We wanted to push it to 8 feet, again, for that safety. And actually, we have the spots indicated on the floor that are closest to where the instructor teaches are actually 10 feet away, because the instructors, of course, are the ones who are talking the most during class, and then have that, respiratory output. So we wanted to keep them further away from the customers for safety purposes. So we have a restricted class size. We limit it to 7 because that's how many people we could get with that 8-foot distancing in the room. And it's reservation only. So both for yoga and for Jazzercise, it's reservation only. Now, if we have a walk-in who does come and there's room in the class, we'll allow them in. But if there's not enough room, so if all 7 spots are taken and we have a walk-in, unfortunately, we have to turn them away just to keep everybody safe while exercising. Along with that, we are still doing live stream classes. So both for Jazzercise and yoga, they live stream their particular classes. Each instructor live streams their class so that if anyone who is a paying customer but doesn't feel comfortable yet coming into the studio to exercise, they still have the option to exercise at home. And of course, exercise is so important for not only our physical health, but our mental health too. And that's something that we really have to be concerned about right now because as social creatures, we're not able to be social right now, and that's very difficult. So I think allowing customers to exercise at home, they are getting, even though it may be sort of a false social connection, they are still getting somewhat of a social connection through that fitness. And it's extremely important for that and for their health physically and mentally and emotionally, honestly. So we continue to do that. And, I think it's just about being careful. Everyone wears their masks into the studio. We keep them on until we start class. Once the class is over, the masks go back on. The customers have been really great about keeping distance as they're changing their shoes or getting their equipment or things like that. They've been very supportive and very agreeable. I think everyone understands that flexibility really is key right now. Again, like I said earlier, since I like to plan and think through all the different scenarios, and I don't really have the option to do that right now, you know, I think everyone is learning how to be more flexible and, you know, hey, this week we have to change the schedule, or, okay, we have another guideline, we have to do this now, and everyone gets that. And so that's one of the benefits, I think, is that we're learning to be able to be more flexible and flexible thinkers and flexible business owners.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you. Excuse me. So there's always a talk about a second wave coming. So as a planner and thinker, have you already been starting about that so you're not caught off guard this time? I mean, it's probably going to be similar to what you were doing for the last shutdown, but in regards to, you know, membership growth and all of that, you've got anything in plan for that if there is a second shutdown?
If there is a second shutdown, I mean, a lot of what we're doing right now will just continue. We'll continue to offer those online options for people. The big thing, because the way Jazzercise Murray is set up, Jazzercise, like I said, is a monthly membership. And so I feel like I have a very strong, loyal customer base, and they are really staying loyal and supporting the business. And that's really what's keeping our doors open. And yoga customers, the way that business model is set up, it's not as much of a membership. They kind of pay as they go, or they'll buy a certain number of classes, like a package, rather than doing a recurring monthly membership. That one's a bit more challenging. So with that one, with the shutdown, and if we have another shutdown, it will be about enticing those people, those customers, to continue the online work, the online classes. So just like I offered a special online package in April and May, I would do the same thing. And really, it's at a much reduced rate than what they would have to pay if they came in studio. And then they have that freedom. So they're not paying as much, but they get to continue to support the studio, and they get to do yoga with their favorite instructors. And, you know, one of the other things that I was able to do with yoga this summer in July and August is that I have our Saturday classes are actually held outside at the park. So that's something I would also consider doing in the fall, is continuing to offer some classes outside. And I've seen that I have a few customers who only do those outside classes, which has been really interesting. So right now for July and August, every Saturday, we have 2 classes, 2 yoga classes, and those are at the park, Murray's Central Park, in a t-ball field. And I did have to rent those, but the rent was reasonable. And honestly, the parks, I had to cancel all of their sports, all their youth sports and everything like that. And they are needing to generate some sort of revenue as well. And so I'm happy to support another organization in our community, even if it's just a little bit. I'm happy to do that. So if we see another closure, especially because we'll be going into the fall months, the weather will be a little bit cooler, I would look into offering maybe more outdoor classes, working with the parks to see what we can arrange to do that. And I think then we would see, we'd have those options for online and outside. With Jazzercise, we would just continue the live streams. And is it ideal? No. I know I have a hard time working out at home. I have 3 kids. I have cats. I have, you know, carpet's not good for what we do, you know, and I get it. It's hard. But I think customers really want to engage with the instructors that they know. And so I get a lot of feedback from people who maybe have done other online fitness things, but they want to work out with our instructors because they know us. And that's what they miss. They miss that community, and community is such a big part of our studio. So really want to continue to encourage that community. And also, you know, I try really hard to work on our social media platforms, you know, continue to make those posts on Instagram and Facebook for both of the businesses, and to connect with our customers in that way. They may not comment or always like or love my posts or things like that, but we're there and they see us there and they know that, hey, we're still here. We're still working. We're still trying to keep this going for you. And when all of the dust settles, hopefully we'll still be here and be able to open our doors and welcome everyone back in. And, you know, truthfully, we miss everybody, just like every other small business. But I go back to that flexibility. You know, a second shutdown comes down on, you know, it's passed down to us. We're going to have to just punt it.
Yes, and I agree, you know, trying to support other local small businesses, trying to, you know, come together and see how we can just keep everything rolling and continuing forward. And I can attest, I'm part of your Jazzercise community, and I was so excited when we were able to go back. I think I came to the first back in-person one because I was like, I'm so ready to get back to the studio, see all my friends, and work out again, because even though I had access to the other platform, it was just not the same as actually being there and seeing everybody and working out. So I'm glad you're still here, and I will forever keep going because I want you to come back when all this is crazy, if it does happen again. Do you have any advice out there for somebody who might be, you know, struggling right now during this pandemic? I know we talk a lot about your businesses, and for a while, you know, one played a bigger role than the other, and then it actually shifted during this pandemic, was kind of a surprise for you, I think. So just offer some advice or, you know, a little bit of information on that.
Yeah, so owning the two businesses, they do have to be run completely separately. Jazzercise being a franchise, I have to run it 100% separately from the yoga studio. I can't cross market. I can't mix up the finances. They have to be completely separate, which in some ways is good and in some ways it's bad, just like everything else. There are pros and cons. So when we first started, the yoga business really was pulling its weight of the studio. Of course, it used to be the only business in this location. And so I was actually excited to have that. A stable business that, you know, I could bring Jazzercise in and really focus on its growth and trying to build the Jazzercise community more, because the yoga community was strong and consistent. With the pandemic, we have seen a shift. Again, I think probably because of how the business model is set up. So with Jazzercise being a monthly membership type thing, and the yoga business being more as a pay-as-you-go kind of thing, the Jazzercise business has actually been taken a larger role in the stability because of that membership setup. So that has been very surprising. And so then I can look at that and I say, okay, I have this great Jazzercise community of loyal customers who have continued to pay throughout this time when I've had limited availability. So how can I build that same community with yoga? And so now I need to look at this and start thinking about, how can I build this yoga community so that they continue to buy those passes and get through this kind of dry spell until we're back in full swing. So building that community is going to be really important for the yoga side of things. As far as advice goes, I mean, that's really hard because, like I said, like I've been just flying by the seat of my pants most of the time. And so I feel like really I'm in survival mode. So it's really, I've had to not be afraid to make quick decisions and, you know, gather the information as quickly as I can and make that information, or take that information and make that decision as quickly as possible. And all any of us can do is do the best we can with the information we have. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. The biggest thing is that I couldn't lose time. I had to make those decisions quickly. And, you know, if something wasn't working, I had to move on. You know, okay, the YouTube channel, you know, it was good for those 2 months when we were completely closed. But now that we're back in the studio, you know, people don't get the YouTube link unless they're paying for it and asking me for it, you know. So it's about making those decisions really quickly, assessing whether or not something is working, and then move on. Not trying to, you know, revive something that's just not happening. So I think really, again, being in survival mode, you just have to be able to take that information, assimilate it quickly, and make a decision. And if something's not working, you got to let it go. You got to abandon that. Maybe revisit later when the business is more stable, and then you can look back and see, well, why did that not succeed? Was it the circumstances? Was it something I did? Was there something different I could do to make that succeed in the future? But right now, it is so much so day to day, and everything is so uncertain. We just got to go. You know what I mean? I mean, we got to make those decisions and go. You don't have the time. And unfortunately, that's just the situation that we're in right now. 6 months from now, when the dust is settled and the doors are back open, and, hopefully we will be kind of back to normal. We can take that time to analyze all this information and see what has worked and what didn't, and kind of take that in a little bit more and spend more time with it. But right now, we just can't do that. We're definitely in survival mode. And of course, in March, I never thought that I would still be having this conversation in August. We closed March 16th, and I was like, well, surely we would be back open by May 1st. Never did I think we would be having this conversation still. So, again, being flexible, making the best decisions that you can with the information that you have. And if you see something not working, move on.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. Being able to trust yourself when you need something needs more thought versus something that needs a quick decision. 2020 has been a wild ride, and I don't think it's going to be done until it's 2021, unfortunately. But thank you so much for coming on this morning with us, Beth, and kind of giving us a check-in update on how you've been, keeping things moving along during this pandemic. And hopefully things will start to get better, but you just never know what 2020 is going to look like. So thank you so much, and we appreciate you talking with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. So if you guys are interested in having an Innovate and Caffeinate in your community, please reach out to our regional coordinator, Melanie Tapp. Her email is located on the screen. And this also includes that if you are an entrepreneur watching today and you just want to share your story with our Innovate and Caffeinate community, please reach out to us. We would love to feature you on our, I want to call it a show because I feel like we've been doing it every week now. So it's a show and these are episodes at this point. So please reach out to us. And then stay tuned for next week. We are going to be speaking with Rachel Hauser, who is a photographer out of Paducah, Kentucky, and she's going to share a little bit about her experience. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week as well. Thank you so much.